Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Javier Perez. Again, this TV show is live, so if you all want to call in and have the discussion, you're free to do so. Later on, you'll see a number on the bottom of your screen. Call in that number, and you'll be right in tune with us, Javier.
That's right.
And if you wish, if you would like to participate in the live audience, we are located in the Houston Media Source in East Houston, just east of Minute Maid Park, right off of Robert Street in Harrisburg.
In beautiful East End, Houston, Texas.
And this beautiful weather today.
I'll
tell you what, there's a lot going on in the news. I don't know if you've heard, but there was some shootings in Las Vegas recently. And according to the news reports, it was a male-female walked into a business and shot 2 police officers.
Yeah.
And then they went into Walmart down the street. They shot someone else. So they had 3 victims, and including themselves, okay, because they were also shot.
They went to the back of the store, I think, didn't they?
So there was 5 victims. And I tell you what, there's some links to white supremacist groups.
White supremacy groups, right.
And I tell you, it's disheartening.
I tell you, man, it's scary. It's scary, Ben. These poor guys, these police officers, just sitting there. I think they were eating breakfast or having a cup of coffee or something, and they walk right behind them and end their lives and destroyed two families.
Well,
I mean, it's sad.
The ironic thing about this is that everyone had a gun. All victims had a gun, and even the 3rd gentleman that was shot had a gun, and he was actually going to shoot at the gentleman that was shooting, and the girlfriend ended up killing him.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
That's correct. So there's a lot of debate that we should be carrying guns. Well, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, but that's not really fair because 2 of them were police officers and they snuck up behind them.
Right.
But and apparently this other gentleman was about to try to defend himself and the other people in the building, and apparently he didn't know there was a second shooter. So, I mean.
But what are your thoughts on gun control?
You know what, Ben? I'm a big. I'm not a card-carrying NRA member, but I believe in the right to keep and bear arms. I think that's important. And tell the truth, I'm looking at getting my concealed handgun license.
I'll be scared if you have a gun.
That's why I don't trust myself. Yeah.
Well, on a lighter note, the San Antonio Spurs played their second game.
There we go with the Spurs again, man.
Hey, I got to support our Texas
What is with
team.
you and San Antonio Spurs, man?
I don't care if it's not Houston. I am a San Antonio Spurs
fan. Once Houston is out,
if the Houston Rockets are not in the playoffs, then I support San Antonio.
I'm out. That's it. I mean, I'm a hometown fan, and I don't really care after they get eliminated.
Just like Houston Texans, if they don't make it to the playoffs and Dallas Cowboys do, then I am a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Oh, please, no, Ben, I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I tried when the Oilers left town to become a Dallas Cowboy fan. Lord knows I tried. It would not take. I just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it.
Don't tell me you were not a Roger Staubach fan.
Well, actually, I did like Roger Staubach.
Then.
I did
rest
like
my
Roger.
case.
Yeah,
but
that doesn't mean I'm a fan of the Cowboys. I like Roger Staubach.
Let's talk about area codes. Do you know there's going to be another area code?
They're adding another one.
4th one. That's correct.
I think we have more area codes in New York City, don't we?
Well, the way it was set up originally is that inside the loop, it was supposed to be 713, and then outside, it was going to be 281. Of course, that didn't happen all the way because there was some 713 numbers outside and some 281 numbers inside the loop. And then they created what they call an overlay, which was the 832 number to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? This summer, we're going to run out of numbers. So they're going to create a new area code. It's 346. So we're going to have 4 area codes in the Houston area starting real soon.
And all started with different numbers. We're going to run out of numbers.
Well, the more people we have that have phones, the more numbers that we have to dish out.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think we're one of the biggest, we're like the biggest user of phones in the country. I believe I'm not too far off saying we have more phones here than New York City does.
You know, a lot of people don't even have a home phone because they rely on their cell phones.
I don't. I have my cell phone now.
Okay.
I got rid of my home phone a few years back.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
You too.
You know, and when that first happened, I thought people were, you got to be kidding, you're going to get rid of your landline. But the landline became so expensive. It was crazy, if you know. And I think AT&T or whoever at the time they priced themselves out of the market, and that's why people don't have are ditching their landlines these days.
Let me go on to another sad story. Today at the University of Houston new stadium that they're building, they found the body. They are doing some autopsy right now and figuring
Jimmy
out.
Hoffa?
Well, they're trying to figure out the cause of death. They think it's a suicide.
Really?
Yeah. There's no details as far as if it's a male, female, or how old, but they did find a body today. The construction workers did.
Excavating.
No, the excavation's already done.
So where'd they find the body at?
That I don't know the specifics, but it just came out in the Chronicle. So obviously there's not a lot of details right now, but I'm sure you'll hear about it.
Well, did it say if it's a fresh body, or it's been there for a while, or what?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Wow.
Yeah. Another thing in the news, 111-year-old man, the oldest man in the world, passed away. 111 years old. He was born on February the 4th, 1903.
Wow.
Wow. He was from Poland originally. He moved to the United States. The oldest woman, by the way, who is still alive, 116-year-old from Japan. I'll tell you what, 116-year-old, that's a long time. I don't even know if I want to live that long. I don't know about you. That's a long time. Now, this is your favorite subject. Another topic. Manziel. You heard what he did?
Johnny Football.
Johnny Football.
What did he do?
Signed with the San Diego, I believe, Padres, if I'm not mistaken, in baseball.
And they can do
What?
Yes, he was recruited. Yes, he was recruited. Professional baseball. So he can now play football and baseball.
Wow. He's going to be another Neon Dion.
And your favorite player, the one that was drafted by the Texans just recently, Mr. Clowney, he just signed a 4-year deal for $22 million. I'll tell you what, if I had $22 million in the next 4 years,
You wouldn't be doing this show.
I retired. I'll tell you what, $22 million for, I'm sure he's probably what, 21?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, 21, 22.
I hope he has a good fiscal manager.
Oh yeah, that's important.
Yeah,
That's important. These guys need to know how to hold on to their wealth.
well, as you know, many of them don't know how to keep their money because they're pretty much taken advantage of, if you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
By the people that surround them.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have to have a posse. Posses are expensive.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about what is it called? The Glenbrook Golf Course. Is that what it's referred to? The Glenbrook Golf Course?
Gus Wortham.
Gus Wortham Golf Course. They want to create a botanical gardens here in Houston, and they want to use that space. We're going to have a little debate on that. And then also we're going to talk about Richard Farias. Everybody knows Richard Farias, the East End legend. His many things that he's doing now as he kind of retired, semi-retired. But then again, Richard Farias never retired.
You never really retire, no.
We're going to talk about what he's doing now. And we'll be back in 2 minutes. Please join us. Welcome back to Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, and we have some special guests today. We have Miss Yvette De La Fuente is going to talk about the park, what I call the botanical garden that they're proposing here in Houston. So Yvette, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. And I'm going to introduce our committee. There's actually 4 of us, but 3 of us are here today. Virginia Hancock,
Hello.
Charles Mayfield, and we're just really excited that we might have good news.
That's great. Well, tell us. what's going
Cautiously
on.
optimistic.
What's
Well,
going
you
on?
know, why don't you give us some background, Yvette? What has been going on with the Gus Wortham Golf Course and with all the parties that be? Just give us some quick background on what's been happening and
Well,
before we start on what your latest news.
we have to go back to when we started, which was last year. The end of the year, it was August, September. And we found out at a Civic Club meeting that they wanted to convert Gus Wortham, and we were really shocked. We hadn't heard anything. And so about a month later, we decided to go to council, and and we found out that the mayor kind of wanted it, and so nobody knew about it. So we went over there to get awareness for everybody to find out. So we started. We started our committee.
About the same time.
August,
the same-
September, yeah.
Yeah, and we had meetings and invited community leaders to come, and that's how it all started.
So what's the latest? I know you all started probably a year ago, right?
Well, yeah, last year.
And so
August,
we've heard a lot of rumors out there. So tell us what's really going on out there.
Well,
So what
say
is
what
the
rumors?
latest? What is the
What's
latest?
your committee was formed to preserve Gus Wortham Golf Course?
Save it, basically
Save
to
it, okay.
save it. Grassroots, save it, because we realized that Gus Wortham was on the butcher block, and we had to move fast. And you know, when you have to move fast, and there's only so many people that are working, you know, really hard. Everybody came together. Now everybody's on board, so it's not going to be as easy. It's not going to be easy to take Gus Wortham.
One of the rumors out there is that they're looking at Glenbrook Golf Course versus Gus Wortham.
Well, Glenbrook Golf Course has a park, so they're not going to take a golf course. They're going to take the property behind it.
Well, the park
do
is
have
not
a
very
golf
big.
course.
I mean, you're
Well,
talking
how many
a
acres is-
playground and a little soccer field and maybe
How
a
many
baseball.
acres is the park?
That I don't know.
It's
but it's not very
140
big.
acres.
We have our historian here.
Okay.
The park is 140
itself
acres?
Is, I believe, 23 acres or 24 acres.
Park, you talk golf course?
Yeah, Glenbrook Valley.
In Glenbrook, because it's 150 acres is Lopez is the manager of the golf course that is there and does exist. And he says 140 acres if you count Sims Bayou, the water, you know, which is pretty wide.
right.
And Gus Wortham has 150 acres. But I brought you the history, and that's since 1908 Gus Wortham has been there.
Okay.
And it,
That's the oldest golf course in Houston.
Texas.
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 Wow.
Texas.
Yes, in Texas.
I think this was the first golf course in Texas.
It was
Am I
first
right? Is that
18-hole
right?
golf course in Texas.
Wow.
And
So were you a member back then?
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
no.
There.
History is, no, we couldn't be, but that's exactly
Jesse
what we
Jones
like, is that
was.
we are now. And,
Howard Hughes was.
and a lot of history, a lot of people have history
And this used to be the Houston Country Club, right?
For
Country Club,
50
Country Club.
years. They left in 1957. I was 20 years old at the time. I remember. I was not a member.
Wow.
I did not play golf, but I appreciated their being there. And then they moved to the other side of town. Gus Wortham came and had the executive club for 15 years private.
I remember the executive.
And then he sold it to the city of Houston, and now it belongs to Parks and Recreation, City of Houston. And Anise Parker, and everybody knows, she admits she wants that 150 acres for the garden. And so Jeff Frost is her person, who's the CEO, and he's been presenting every civic club in the East End his PowerPoint about that garden. So it was like, that's what got us started. So here we are today, and thank you. Yeah.
So are you saying that Glenbrook is the second option, or is that the main option right
It's a
now?
Right,
second
main.
the
option.
main
Well,
option
yeah.
for the garden.
It's,
For the garden.
it's a main
And they're getting ready to go through what we went through. They met just at Park Place, and they are getting ready to, there's the pro and the against, and it'll break up communities because they're so passionate about it. So, you know, we're just trying to be quiet.
I live there actually. I'm
Actually,
like
does your
blocks from
house
there.
look on that's beautiful over there.
So what do
Yeah.
you think about having a botanic garden there? I think it's a great idea.
A lot of the people are
Well,
for it.
let me tell you, anything that creates jobs in the neighborhood and they're not using the land currently, because you go to there and realistically, there's not a lot of people.
They're
using
not
the park.
used, yeah.
You know, let's just be honest. They don't have an organized baseball or organized soccer league that uses that park at all.
Right.
Well, the
They used to have
number-
an Olympic pool.
The number of players per year is at the bottom of all municipal golf courses.
But we're not even talking about, you're not talking about the golf.
I'm talking about the
course,
park.
you're talking about
The park, yeah.
Well, the park is what they want to use
Yeah.
the Botanic Garden.
Initially,
But the last I heard was that Glenbrook is not even on the list anymore.
When did you?
It's, well, just in the last few weeks that
Oh, no.
Glenbrook was a second option, but it's not a very good option. They really want Gus
No,
Wortham.
well, to bring you up to speed, they already had a Civic Club meeting to promote. Jeff Ross had his meeting so that he could bring it to their Civic Club. And we know that there are some people over there that want it. Actually, the president of her Civic Club over there, she's interested in getting, the community.
A Civic Club at Glenbrook?
Yeah.
The Glenbrook Civic Club.
Okay,
Yep.
because the Glenbrook Civic Club is actually, their homes are mostly in the other side of
Right.
Park Place.
the Park Place is,
Right.
right, exactly.
That's where we went.
It's different civic club. There's not really a civic club in that area where the park is, unfortunately. This is not organized. And I'd be curious to see what kind of numbers we're looking at as far as job creation, the amount of people that will actually attend. Because, it's real easy to say, oh, we're going to have 20,000 people show up.
Well, no,
But-
the number
but
was
really-
Quite higher than that.
But realistic, how many people will show
Well,
up?
that's a good
$25
that's the
a head, there will
question.
be admission.
there would,
That's the question, Ben, is how many people will actually go and how many people actually
Jeff Ross
pay.
has estimated at, if it was at Gus Wortham, that would be 500,000 visitors per year.
Okay.
And according to him, it would all be the light rail. Well, but he presented plans, design plans, as to what the park would look like. But it also had a 11-acre parking lot. If everyone's coming by light rail, why do you need a 11-acre parking lot? And that is why a lot of people changed their mind because of that as well. Whereas Glenbrook Valley, I was at the Park Place Civic Club meeting, and one of the primary concerns is how to get traffic from either Old Galveston Road or the Gulf Freeway to the park. And that appears to be the biggest problem at that location.
Now we're talking about at
Glenbrook Valley.
At Glenbrook.
And so it would be, that seems to be the only objection, because it is a perfect place. There is an existing arboretum center there across the bayou that can be gone to by a bridge. It also has a bayou on several sides, and there's a lot of nature in that bayou there. So it's got a lot of positive points, with the only negative point being the access, which if anybody knows an engineer, they know how to solve that problem. But currently there's two groups. There's a group of people that are formed and negotiating with the administration to raise $15 million to refurbish the Gus Wortham Park, and Jeff Ross with the Houston Botanical Gardens will try to raise $40 million for a botanical garden. So that's where we stand now, is in the negotiations.
Money.
And the money.
So Charles, so the 11-acre parking lot would be planned for the Glenbrook location?
No, that was strictly in the plans for Gus
Okay,
Wortham.
for the Wortham. Okay.
Yes.
But they have pretty good parking over there,
With an
actually.
entrance on Lawndale. Because if you know, on Capitol, there is a railroad.
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
So
it's
unless
blocked off.
everybody's going to go over the railroad, they're going to have to build a bridge. So initially they thought about putting the entrance on Lawndale, but everybody knows what Lawndale's like over there. It's a traffic mess.
Yeah.
And the traffic, we already have traffic, so.
Let's talk about the pros and the cons, okay? The cons is, that's a lot of money, guys. I mean, let's be realistic. That's a lot of money to put in a botanical garden. I mean,
Well, in projections, he's stating $100 million minimum. It could go higher. and I did research on all major cities' botanical gardens, and $100 million is a starting point or a jumping off point to really have a botanical gardens.
So what's the high end?
Up to $250 million.
How much does it cost to maintain a botanical garden?
See, and he said volunteers. We're going to maintain it with
Yeah, so when you
volunteers.
talk about
In East End and families that are large, and they're going to be $11 for each child. You pay to park your car, and you pay as an adult to get in there.
exactly.
And I can see trees without paying for it.
Well, here's the deal. You talk about jobs. Well, what kind of jobs are we talking about? Because mostly it's a volunteer base. And what are we going to have? Parking attendants and stuff like those kinds of
Valet
jobs?
parking?
Those kinds of jobs. So
Sure.
there's not really a big number there for jobs.
And the other thing is, who's going to make the money?
Well, it's supposed to
that's-
go back to the Botanical Garden Foundation and to support the maintenance and the growth of the botanical gardens. They, in like Dallas, they have 43 permanent employees, 20 permanent employees, additional 23 seasonal employees, and up to 200 volunteers, docents and people that enjoy getting dirt underneath their fingernails. And so the primary job creator is going to be about 20 people. And how many times will a person go to a botanical garden? Maybe once, if family come in from out of town, twice. But you have golfers that play golf
Get hooked and go
1,
back.
2, 3 times a week on a weekly basis. And that generates a lot. People, it has not been brought out, but Gus Wortham is the number 3 played course in the city, inside the Loop especially. And it had been neglected for decades.
Oh, yeah.
City
absolutely.
doesn't put money into
They
it.
don't
They
put money-
can't, I guess.
They
but-
don't think that is a viable source of entertainment for the masses. But there are a lot of school academies that are training for the upcoming replacement golfers. There are a lot of older golfers, and golf, once, as Virginia says, once you get it in your blood, you can't get it out.
You know, I think the problem is that Ben played at Wortham once, and if you ever see him play, you'll never want to see golf again. He's
not a good
Hey, you
golfer.
can take
worst golf I've
lessons.
ever seen.
They offer lessons there at Gus Wortham, which is
He would spend thousands.
Well, no. I mean, I just actually started playing. You know, I've been fighting for it, and my husband golfs there, and we go over there even just to see it because it's so beautiful. Even if you're not a golfer, you can go and see the beautiful play. I mean, they say you can't, but you can. They'll let you.
You know, and I'll put a shout out. Your cousin David Palomo.
Yes, my
he's the one who started me playing golf back in
Really?
the early '80s. Yeah.
See, he knows my cousin from way back.
Yeah, he's the one that actually got me started hunting, fishing, and playing
Well, now
golf.
go take his.
My 3 vices.
Go take his class to get your license because I did.
Yeah,
As a
matter of fact, I just talked about that
I
too.
took the class. So.
I'd like to chime in real quick though, because one of the points that I'm concerned about is that it completely takes away any opportunities for the kids in the surrounding schools to go there and learn to play golf.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously for the longest time, golf has been a rich man's game. Well, Gus Wortham has been able to change that somewhat, and with a lot of attention to it, a lot more can be done. And I think a lot of kids, you know, there's a lot of good golfers in the Pro Golfing Association, and not a whole lot of Latinos. We need to increase that.
Exactly.
And they can come right out of the East End, but that is minimized if in fact Gus Wortham is shut down.
Exactly.
And the botanical gardens may be good for tourists, but I doubt very seriously that you're going to have 500,000 tourists from downtown coming to the botanical gardens every year, and there's no real jobs for people from the East End. 20 jobs, maybe 23 jobs. That's it. You know, it's fantasy land as far as I'm concerned, and somebody's going to be making money, but it's not going to be this community of the East End.
That golf course is affordable.
It is.
You know,
It
the
is.
fees
Yeah.
are much less than and so someone
yeah.
said it's the poor man's golf course. Well, poor men need a golf course. Thank
That's
you.
right.
Let's talk about the leadership. Where do they stand on this issue? I know you have a council member, Robert Gallegos. of
Yes,
course,
he's
the
on
mayor.
board.
Okay, so the mayor's on board also?
The mayor is, they're negotiating right now the terms.
Money.
They're going to be able to raise the money. That's
For
for the
Renovation.
For the renovation. I brought a copy of it. This is what Gus Wortham is supposed
The
to look
master
like,
plan.
the master plan, and it's
Okay.
gorgeous.
That's already been done.
Except, yeah, we need a restaurant and concessions
yeah.
brings in
Restaurant
money,
would be nice.
Absolutely.
and a clubhouse that people can rent it out.
And the nonprofit I work for, Thunder Blue Houston, we had our golf tournament at Gus Wortham.
Right.
We're going back.
Oh yeah.
We need to support. One of the things that I told the board, my board of directors agrees. We need to support East End businesses, and that we need to start at Gus Wortham. That's a
Exactly.
great asset. It's a resource to the community, and we
It's
need
our
to support
historical treasure.
wholeheartedly.
They want to take it away from us, but I don't think they are. That's the copy of the master plan.
Well, I want to congratulate you all for taking on the administration, because it's one thing to say, oh, you know what, I'm against it, and just sit back and watch it. But you guys took a proactive role. You got in front of the issue. You got organized, which is very important, because when the leadership sees organizations pop up out of nowhere, they listen. That's the
Right.
bottom line. I mean, you guys are, I saw the numbers, and I was with you all at certain events, and you guys definitely have the numbers. And so it's good to see you guys be proactive. So
thank
how did
you.
you organize so fast, though?
It was grassroots. We had one meeting,
It's 8 months.
and then my house, my phone. It was 24 hours, literally. I had to stop my job for a while because I was trying to catch up, and they were way ahead of us because nobody knew what was going on. So we had to catch up, and we did. So it was a lot of work, but and then now that everybody's involved, other community leaders, it's a great thing that everybody is helping.
So I know this was really comes from Mayor Parker's camp. She wanted to push for this.
Yes.
And I know at the meeting I went to, she was kind of a little abrasive. She didn't want to
she's
hear
very,
what
very-
people had to
That's
say.
what I'm saying. When we first went to council, she was very adamant about Gus Wortham, and we could see it. And so we realized then, oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And we started to meet with council members, and I have to say, they were really supportive.
Well, yeah, except that they said, would you show us on my map in my office where this Gus Wortham golf course is? Because if they lived over there, they had not even been over here, so
clue.
it was an educational thing. We went in and said, well, come on, we'll give you a tour, so
we
you
ran
had to show 'em-
into some of them getting tours there.
So you had to show them where the River Oaks was.
exactly, exactly.
Well, it's changing. The East End is changing, and we need a beautiful golf course there. That's what we
Absolutely.
need. We need that more than anything. And talking about kids, this is a junior golfer playing with pros. Okay, this is what we want for Gus Wortham.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
want this for
Now-
our
Now,
kids.
is junior golf even? I mean, they're not involved with the Wortham Golf Course.
Yeah,
are
they do. Chavez comes over, they bring their students, and TSU.
Now there's a Junior Golf Association of Houston, isn't there?
It's
I
a
know they're the ones-
PGA. It's a
or-
PGA
yeah.
juniors group.
Have they? I mean, do they have any inkling to maybe get involved and help develop?
That's what he's trying to do.
Okay.
That's why we said, okay, we got to save it, and that's what I think. Like I said, we're optimistically positive that it's going to be okay.
Depends
I
on
mean,
the
because if you want to take a kid to a junior golf course, you got to go to the Woodlands, or you got to go to one of the
Exactly.
outlying golf courses. I mean, there's nowhere in the city that I know of where you can take a kid to develop his golf skills.
Well, that's what we do at Gus
for
Wortham.
junior golf.
And not only for men, for ladies. So this Latinas Golfers Association, it's free to join, and it's just something. We're actually going to have the first golf clinic there. It was going to be at Memorial, but because Gus Wortham, we really want to get some attention, get some Latina golfers there.
Richard, do you want your wife going to playing golf with you? I don't know about that, man.
I don't know about
'Cause I
with
think
me,
cigars
but
are gone, the beer drinking's gone, and I don't know. They take all the fun out of it.
she tried playing with me at golf tournaments, but she just couldn't get to where she was comfortable with it. So she's actually a perfect candidate for your clinic. that you
Perfect,
have
because that's what
coming
we
up.
want. We want to.
I'll tell her about it.
Please do, spread the word.
And then
Please.
hopefully they'll continue to golf there, and we'll start
My wife is sitting over there next thing. I want to play golf with you. Oh,
we'll start a new trend for the next generation. That's what we want.
You know, you said something real quick about, I want to make sure that the record is straight. You said something that the mayor was adamant about Gus Wortham,
Yeah.
and that's all you said.
for
Yeah.
the Botanical Gardens.
She was in favor of Gus Wortham going down and the Botanical Gardens going
That's
in.
right.
Yes.
Correct?
That's right. And she
Yeah.
admits it.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah,
and
I know
Robert
she does.
Gallegos, who works now closely with her, made the statement at the Park Place Civic Club the other night that that's exactly how she feels. She still feels that way. She wants Gus Wortham for the Botanical Garden.
Yeah.
But the people have spoken,
have
sort of.
Right.
So it's sort of like now
Were you at our
Glenbrook is
meeting?
being considered.
Civic Club or for Cape Center?
Cape Center
I was there
meeting.
for
Yeah,
Cape
that might be something
Oh,
to
yeah.
mention. It was 3-1, maybe
I
4-1
know,
for
I
the
know.
golf course.
But they went back and told the city council that it was 50-50.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, so it was an amazing turnout, and,
Well,
and
yeah,
we-
it
I knew it
was.
would be, and I told them
Yeah.
you're going to need a bigger place. People had to leave. People were
Yeah.
very upset.
I was there.
because they didn't get.
It was packed. I
no,
couldn't even get
you-
near the
People
room.
couldn't find a place to park outside, so they didn't
Yeah.
even come in. So we knew that, and so I was going around giving them flyers to call the council members and let them know that there was a huge amount of people there in support of Gus Wortham, and that's what we want.
I'm just curious, when was the last time you played golf there?
I've never played golf there. I can see the golf course from my house where I've lived for 73 years. And that golf course restores my soul. It makes me feel good to see the trees, the green. We need green space in East End. We're industrial and commercial area, and the more green space, the better it is. And that's green space. I go by there all the time. I enjoy it. Don't take it away. And then somebody criticized and said, well, you know, so you can see you can see some green and golf course out your front door. That's not a big deal. It's a very big deal for me. It's quality of life.
Robert, have you played there?
No, I have not.
Charles. Yeah.
It's all right. No, I've not. Last time I played was in college, and I was so bad I gave it up. But just like Virginia, it's so satisfying and soothing. I was born and reared in the country, so I got up every morning and saw several acres of land out there. So getting up and driving by there and walking and seeing the greenery and the trees just is very relaxing, and it soothes the soul. Mm-hmm. And although I don't play, and I don't think you want me to play, you.
Hey, believe me, Ben can play, you can play.
But it is a very it's a wonderful piece of property, and we need more green spaces fewer green spaces in the city of Houston.
And with Charles's research, he found out that other successful botanical gardens were set up on land that it was not a place that was being used like Gus Wortham is. It was deserted, vacant lots, run down, whatever, and they got their property in a different way. But don't go take something that we enjoy, that we use, and that we love.
And the city of Dallas Botanical Gardens was actually a two families estate accounting for 66 acres. So they were wealthy families. They gave to this organization in Dallas, and there is no light rail. Only after the Botanical Gardens was established that there was a bus service near the Botanical Gardens in Dallas, but they still bring in 400,000 visitors a year. And so it is, you can have a very valuable botanical gardens without having mass transit there. Chicago's, who has just under 1 million visitors last year, is 20 miles from the city. So, you know, that again shows that it is, if you build it, they'll come. But, you know, it's the fallacy of, oh, we've got to have mass transit there so people will come see it. I hate to burst anybody's bubble, but this is Texas, and we love our cars.
Oh, this is Houston,
yeah.
baby. You go from doorstep to doorstep.
Not only that, my other issue is that it does really nothing for the families that live there, because they're not going to be able to afford to go to the botanical gardens.
And
they're going to pass by it, just like if they don't play golf, they pass the golf course, you know, but it's not going to be available to kids, and that's a misnomer. I mean, they were actually saying that it was for the community.
oh yeah.
There's no way. it's just not making sense at all.
And they're going to put a fence around it.
So, real quick, Ben,
Yeah.
can Yvette, can you give us what's been the process of the mayor? So the mayor went hard.
You just want to pick on the
No.
mayor.
I mean, all three of you, please. Virginia Cross,
What's been her process?
I know you better, so that's why I'm picking on you. But so she went from no, this is the way it's going to be, to
Yeah.
let's look at it. Hey man, just like we went up to her against redistricting, did the same thing.
We have a relationship with the mayor when we go up. I mean, you get a relationship when you go speak before council, and she'll either look at you or she won't.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there was
We
one of us.
had our
not me, but
Yeah.
one of my neighbors who went and spoke. She got up and walked out. When he said this is a land grab,
yeah.
she walked out. Okay.
Oh, we're
so
out of time, guys.
It's good.
we ended it just like.
We gotta save some time for our next guest. So thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate it, and hopefully
Certainly.
next time we'll have.
So you guys,
answers.
please stay with us and
Oh, we will. We
and
will.
help us grill Richard here.
I didn't
be
grill
back.
you all that much.
And when we come back, we're gonna talk to the East End icon, Mr. Richard Farias. Join us in 2 minutes.
All right.
Thank you for coming back and joining us with Latino Talk TV. I'm your host, Ben Mendez, and my co-host, Mr. Javier Perez. And now we get to interview the icon of the East End. Mr. Richard Farias has worked in the community for X number of years. I won't say how many years, but he's been around a long time. And welcome, Richard.
Thank you. It's great to be here. 1986, by the way.
I taught him everything he knows. Richard, tell us what you're doing. I know you're semi-retired, and well, every time I hear a story about you, they always say, well, he says he's retired, but the reality is you never retire.
It's
No.
like the mob. I try to get out of these.
That's it, man. No, I never retired. I left Tejano Center after 20 years. I think a very successful organization that I left behind and is still going strong. But I was at a point in my life where I felt I needed to spread my wings and do more, not only just for the East End, but all of Houston and Harris County. And the Lord took me to Cypress. And I started the American Latino Center for Research, Education, and Justice 2 years ago. And we established our office there. But we're still doing work here in the East End, and we'll continue to do that because the East End is part of who I am. I lived here for 40 years, and it's just like Brownsville. I was born in Brownsville, and I started a charter school down in Brownsville because that's my roots. And so now I'm in Cypress, and I'm learning that there's a lot of very low-income Latinos out in the Cypress area, where at one time, nobody knows about it yet. But I'm going to help get that word out. I mean, we think that even in the East End that there's a lot of poor families, and there are. Mm-hmm. I know there are. But when you see some of the people that I see out in the Cypress area, it's even worse. It's the part of the city that can easily be regarded as a third world city community. It's so bad, and so I've got a lot of work to do there. But again, the real intention was for me to have a much broader impact, and so I'm working with school districts, and I'm trying to get them to understand that there are obstacles that are keeping our kids from being more successful in the public school system, and that's why kids are dropping out, and we need to change that, and they need to make the dropout problem a much higher priority than it has been. And so that's what I'm cut out for now. We're doing a couple of other small programs. We have the Best Christmas Ever, which is a program that involves 300 kids now, and we've got volunteers that are very much involved with it. As a matter of fact, we held the last one at Talento Bilingüe de Houston, and it was extremely successful. And we target the poorest kids in our community, including kids here from the East End and from that trailer park that I'm talking about out in Cypress. So we have that, and we're doing an Easter event for the kids as well. But our big project right now is Comprando Rico y Sano, which my wife is heading, and she's doing it all over the city, including the East End. And we have, it's a program really to impact the problem of obesity among our kids. And so she took a special training. She went up to San Antonio and came back, and now she's training health promoters, volunteer health promoters that are helping her do workshops with small groups of families to teach them how to buy healthy on a budget. Because most of our families are on a very tight budget.
So no more tortillas.
No more tortillas,
No
man.
more
Tortillas are out. But what she learned is that you really can, if you watch yourself, buy a meal for four people with $5. And she knows how to do that, and she's teaching others how to do that. I
wonderful.
couldn't do that if I tried.
Would you mind saying the name of that? Or
It's in Spanish, Comprando Rico y Sano, buying healthy or rico y sano, healthy
delicious,
and
good.
delicious
Delicious.
and good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Comprando buying, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Don't look at me, man. I'm on the obesity side.
Let me share with the viewers. Actually, Richard Farias was the president of AMA. And if you don't know AMA,
do.
it's the Association for the Advancement of Mexican Americans. Now, I will tell you that after he left there, he started the Tejano Center, which really is the umbrella group for an organization for, it's a school, it's a shelter,
For
it's a senior citizen housing apartment complex, right?
Wow.
And he also built houses, actual houses for folks that were needy. What else did y'all do at the Tejano Center?
We have a very important adult education program
Okay.
for parents of the children in our school and other folks from the community that wanted to get their adult basic education, GED, computer literacy classes, and citizenship classes.
And we go to Tejano Center every semester. Javier and I, we participate in what they call the ropes course. They have a ropes course behind the Tejano Center, and they actually have probationers go there. Is that correct?
Not only probationers,
Yeah.
if you want to know the truth. I mean, like the NHPO goes there now and has been going for some time. Staff from Houston Community College has gone there. Folks from Shell have gone there because it's a team building activity, and it builds trust and self-esteem and self-confidence amongst kids. And for the adults, it really teaches you how to work better together. It's kind of scary, but it's the safest place to be because you can potentially climb a 30-foot pole, jump off of it onto a trapeze, and you're still safer than you are crossing the street here in Harrisburg.
I want you to know that Javier
Did Javier
jumped,
do it? I was about to
I brought the
say.
trapeze.
Did Javier do it?
jumped from the 30-foot pole, grabbed the trapeze, flipped over it like 3 times, did a pull-up.
No, I don't believe it.
No, I did the 360. He's exaggerating, but I did a 360, caught it one-handed up.
Oh,
But you know, the important thing about that program, Ben, is that I learned about it while I was working as a juvenile probation officer in Harris County. And I learned about it because a couple of my kids were actually in a psychiatric hospital because they were so bad off. And so I went to that psychiatric hospital to visit them, and that's when I learned about this ropes course, which traditionally it's only available to kids that have a lot of money or folks that have a lot of insurance. And so I said, if that's good for them, it's got to be good for all kids. And so that's how it grew. And thank God, probation department then got its own rope course after I left. And then, of course, as soon as I could, we built one at Tejano Center, and it's going strong.
Javier, I don't know if you're aware of this, but at the Tejano Center, they had a like 98% passing rate, graduation rate,
Oh, wow.
which is unheard of in the city of Houston. Now, Richard has an event going on, and I forget the name of it. Richard, help me out here.
It's the Latino Education Summit.
Latino Education Summit, to talk about some of the issues in education. Now, if there's anybody that knows education, it's Mr. Richard Farias. Now, tell me how you did 98% graduation rate.
There's a lot of things that people don't understand in the regular public school system. I've always believed, having been a juvenile justice professional, I know what high-risk youth need. They need love and attention. They don't just need a bunch of homework or getting a teacher that's really good. They need somebody that really cares for them. And a lot of these kids in our neighborhoods don't have the kind of love and support that they need at home. And if they can't get it at school either, then why are they really there? Nobody really understands that they need to provide that. And so at the Raúl Izaguirre Charter School, we were able to provide that kind of atmosphere and environment, not only for the kids, but for the families. I had, as the superintendent of the schools, I had a open door policy, so parents were always able to come in and visit with me. And not only that, I had all my teachers making a home visit at the beginning of every school year so that they would know the kinds of conditions that these kids are living in. And if Johnny or Juanita are messing up in the classroom, falling asleep or being angry or being hostile or whatever, it's because of what's going on in the home. And if the teachers understand that, then they have a greater tendency to be much more empathetic with those kids and willing to work with them a lot harder than they would otherwise. Now, as far as this summit, let me say that I've got the top-notch researchers and scholars of the Houston area that are going to be presenting at this event. It's scheduled for August 6th and 7th. It's a two-day event at Rice University. I've got everybody from Stephen Kleinberg to Richard Tapia, who is the top university professor at Rice University.
Dr. Tapia.
Dr. Richard Tapia. I've got Dr. Turley there. I've got
You have Ben Mendez in there?
Irene Pocarello, Ben Mendez.
We're trying to get him to get his
I don't
GED.
see his picture. I see Dr. Luis Cano, who was also a professor at University of Houston and one of the founders of AMA, which you mentioned. I have Dr. Lawrence Payne, who's a very progressive individual that has a lot of education background and has his own educational consulting. Robert Sanborn, the president of Children at Risk. Dr. San Miguel out of University of Houston Sociology. I've got Juliet Stipech, the president
She's our
of
neighbor.
HIC. Okay, so I've got some awesome individuals that are going to be presenting, and these are going to be plenary sessions, so everybody's going to get to hear what they have to say. And the whole idea is to try to get everybody on the same page, for them to understand what the real problems are. And I expect that a lot of these individuals are going to come through with very strong recommendations. At the end of the summit, we're going to have a town hall meeting. I'm inviting 4 or 5 superintendents to come in and talk about what they're doing or what they think they should be doing but can't, and learn from the other superintendents and let the community chime in on what they have to say. And then finally, in the final analysis, we're going to create a report because everything's going to be recorded. And so then we'll create a paper and we'll pass it on to the legislature so that they know and understand what the real issues are, and some of the recommendations that we're going to make for policy change at the state level, which then has to come back to the local level.
You know, I tell you, man, with Richard, one thing I learned about Richard in the years I've known him, you go big or you go home. And Richard always does things big, and he plans it, and he always does things so well. And Richard, I tell you, my hat's off to you for what you're doing out there.
I taught him everything he knows.
Yeah, I know, Ben.
Yeah.
I know.
And the address of
Wonderful.
Tejano Center, where is it?
Tejano Center is on Broadway between 610 and 45 South.
All right. Then,
2950 Broadway.
The
right.
brand new building that's there?
Yeah.
That's the Raúl Izaguirre School.
and what about Izaguirre, that school?
That
Are you
is under the
affiliated?
umbrella of Tejano Center.
All right, that's what I thought they were
Oh, yeah.
kind of connected.
Yeah, and then I have a children's a facility called El Hogar de Niños, for abused, neglected children off of Long Drive. And then we have the school there. The school now also has a clinic, which I had started working on before I left there, and it finally came to fruition. So there's also a clinic there now, and we have a lot. They still have a lot of good programs there that I left there, and I'm sure they're going to be starting some new ones. So I still wish them all the luck.
Keep coming
Oh
back.
no,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no way.
And by the way, on the same grounds, they have the senior citizens that live there.
Yes.
Oh,
And
wow.
so the seniors participate with activities.
Yeah, and a lot of the students do volunteer jobs at the senior citizens facility there at the back end of Broadway, which is that's where I used to live.
I used to live too on Bowery Street, right across from Dee Middle
Yeah,
School.
okay, yeah, right down
that's
the
my
street.
turf. Yeah.
Richard, let's talk about this dropout rate, because everybody says there's 50% plus or minus dropout rate here in Houston. Why is it that you can do 98% and when everybody else is doing 50? I know you mentioned community involvement, parent involvement, et cetera, but why can't HISD or the other school districts model their programs with yours?
Pride gets in the way. And you know, the reality is that when you have a small school, and by the
small
way,
groups.
it's not that small, 1,250 kids. Most elementary schools, most middle schools are not any bigger than that. The big difference is that I had pre-K through 12 there. So we don't lose the continuity
Same.
that the kids do in the public school system, for starters. And I already mentioned the things that you just mentioned. But in addition to that, what the public school system seems to do so well is to misappropriate funds. And a lot of the funds, and I'm not saying unlawfully, I'm just saying instead of targeting the funds where they're needed the most, they'll pick something else and use it there. If it's about the buildings, you know, everybody wants good schools for our kids, but the real learning has nothing to do with the buildings. And so to me, as long as you have a decent building that kids can work out of without any safety issues, you know, the money should be going into programs that target these kids, particularly the high-risk, low-income kids, because what happens is that in HISD and same as other school districts, they have special programs to show that they are trying to reach every kid. What they do is forget about the low-income kids, and so they target the kids that they know they're going to be successful with. Low-income kids, minority kids need a little more attention than most kids do. And that's the reality. I don't really, it's not a crutch, that's just the way it is. And until we believe that and understand that, you know, then we'll start spending money on it and we'll start doing the right things for these kids. Tutoring is a big thing. You know, the parent involvement, I cannot stress enough. That having quality teachers that really care about the kids is equally important. And having an administration that can lead the school to the kind of success that's needed for each and every child. That's what
awesome.
I believe.
That is awesome.
Hey man, go large or go home.
You got it.
Javier, any questions?
Well, I tell you, Richard, maybe you can. I know your latest, I guess, outreach has been out in the Cypress area, and from what I've heard, it's, you know, am I exaggerating when I say that these people out there are being victimized?
Who's being
The
victimized?
people out in the Cypress area at these mobile homes.
Oh, absolutely. This trailer park that I'm talking about is a classic case, because what happens is these people pay $350 for a small space. They're being charged as much as $80 a month for water, because the water is controlled by the owner of that property, and there's no security lighting whatsoever. There's no play areas for the kids. The streets that go through the trailer park are in terrible condition, and it's very unsafe. There's a big body of water towards the back of the park that is full of algae. The story, and I don't know this for a fact, but the story among the residents there is that a child fell there a couple of years ago and drowned, and nothing was ever done about it, you know, in terms of investigating or at least cleaning up the place. So yeah, they are definitely being victimized, and that's the largest trailer park out there. But there's many more around the area that are just going in there, and the the Latino population is growing, and that's what scares me. The Latino population is growing everywhere, especially in Harris County and Houston. And like actually Steven Kleinberg said it, if we don't start educating our Latino and African American kids in the same way that we teach Anglos, this city will become a third world city.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Kleinberg said that, okay?
Wow.
The most highly respected sociologist
from Rice University.
anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the truth is there, you know, people don't want to listen to it, they don't want to hear it, you know, until it slaps them in the face. You know, I'm trying to prevent that from happening. And what I want is for the economy to remain high for everybody. And because if it does, that means that our low-income kids are growing and they're prospering, and they will be much more successful.
We don't have a lot of time left, but I really wanted to touch on el Hogar de Niños. Is that what it's called?
El Hogar de Niños, children's
which is
shelter.
a shelter for
Yeah.
kids that are from 0 to 18 years old. Is that correct?
17.
0 to 17 years old?
And actually it's more like 12 to 17.
Okay, and it's one of the few, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the few that the staff is Spanish speaking. So they take in a lot of folks, and they can stay 30 to 60 days, or what's the maximum?
Yeah,
they can stay?
30 days at a time, and then because the kids that go there are referred by Children's Protective Services. So after 30 days, they either move down or a waiver has to be put in place for them to stay another 30 days and up to 90 days. And then, unfortunately, they'll move them in spite of the fact that kids who are moved to another place run away from another place and come back to El Hogar de Niños because they love it there. They're well taken care of. And yet the system is such that they can't stay there any longer. So they're moved out. Then they come back on their own, and then they end up getting locked up because they ran away.
That's
it's a sad
crazy.
situation.
Unfortunately, we run out of time, but I did want to mention the website. What is the website for this event?
www.alcrej.org, and then you can go to the link. There's a Latino Education Summit, and it has all the information there about the presenters, sponsorships, exhibits, and registration can be done right there at that website.
So if you didn't catch the website, I imagine you can Google the Latino Summit, right? The Latino Education Summit at Rice University during August the 6th and 7th.
Yeah.
And so thank you for coming on the show.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
your
Thank
time.
you.
And Javier, always good to be your co-host.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to be here. And Richard, I really want to thank Richard for everything he does. I mean,
Thanks.
and you too, Ben, you guys have been in the community a long time. And the one thing I've learned that if you aren't getting death threats, you aren't doing it right.
Oh,
And these guys have got a lot of death threats.
oh Lordy.
That concludes our show. I appreciate you joining us at Latino Talk TV. We're here every Monday night at 6 p.m. live TV. Again, if you want to be a guest, you're more than welcome to come. Houston Media Source is located on Robert Street and Harrisburg. Come join us next Monday. We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.